The Oklahoma Sooners potentially need another offensive tackle here in the 2026 class, and they might have honed in on their guy that they could potentially go out there and land. We've talked about the in-state prospect, but now we got to talk about another out-of-state prospect that might have some ties to the Oklahoma staff. So I'm going to talk about that here in a minute. Before we do that, though, as always, I want to hear from y'all. So join the discussion, jump in the comments below, and let me know what you guys think about the 26 class so far, and if you think Oklahoma can land this 4-star offensive tackle prospect. If you're new to the channel, this is where I ask you to hit that like and hit that subscribe button so that you're not missing out on any Oklahoma recruiting content or just any of the game day content. Oklahoma's playing Auburn this week, and we've got some content centered around that. So make sure you guys are tuning in for that. We're trying to expand our roots a little more with just outside recruiting as well. So we'd love to have you guys be a part of that. So, okay, Johnny Jones is the guy that we're going to be talking about today. And this is probably a different name, if you haven't been paying attention, than what we've talked about with Daniel McMorris, who is the 3-star offensive tackle that decommitted from Minnesota. And then, well, we kind of thought he was going to get an offer, and so far we haven't seen one come through. So Johnny Jones is kind of the next guy that you're looking at for Oklahoma as a potential offensive tackle prospect. Now, as you can see from Hayes Fawcett here, there are quite a few schools that are engaged with Johnny Jones, and Georgia being one of them. Georgia's kind of the school where, I would be a little bit I would say worried in the recruitment. He's taken like 3 or 4 visits to Georgia. So he's obviously very familiar with that staff and the campus and the game day environment. He's been to Florida 3 times, which I don't see them on this list. So we'll have to see if they somehow rise out of the ashes, if they maybe get a new coach and they decide to go after him because he is an in-state prospect. But who is Johnny Jones? Johnny Jones is a 6'7", 315-pound offensive lineman. You kind of heard that right. 6'7", 315. He's listed as 6'6" here. I think that's a little off. He's out of Venice, Florida, in Venice High School. Right now, currently ranked as the 122nd player according to the 247 composite rankings and the 151st player according to the 247. So a top 150 guy. Let's just go ahead and get that out of the way right now. 32 total offers, and this recruitment's wide open. Now, obviously, on that list, you saw Ole Miss, you saw Florida State, you saw Colorado, who all got OVs from him. He visited Colorado on April 5th, Ole Miss on April 18th, and Florida State on May 30th. But this is a guy that Oklahoma had previously recruited before he committed to UCLA. But the interesting thing here is his connection to Oklahoma on the staff isn't just Bill Bedenbaugh. For those of you who haven't been paying attention to a lot of the staff moves this off year, Oklahoma made a huge addition with bringing on Jim Nagy and some of the other scouts into that room. And you have one guy that nobody really ever talks about. It's a guy that I actually got a chance to meet while we were at the Brent Venables football camps this year, but that is Stacy Ford. Stacy Ford is the director of player personnel and retainment at Oklahoma football. But when he was at UCLA, I believe there was some connection there with Johnny Jones. So if that's actually the case, and if that's true, then the Oklahoma Sooners here could have their in to try to land their next offensive tackle here in the 26 cycle. And he's a massive human being. So this is definitely a guy that I would be excited for, if you can't tell already, to get on the squad and be a part of this 2026 cycle. And who's not excited for a top 150 guy? So kind of reading Andrew Ivan, the director of scouting over at 247, he had a little write-up about this for Johnny Jones. He says, a scratch card of an offensive tackle prospect that looks to have the size and athleticism to demand of the left side of the line at the game's highest levels. Blessed with a prototypical frame as he measured around 6 foot at the time, 6'6", 315, summer before junior, and came in with a 7'1" wingspan. Guys, that's huge for an offensive tackle. And one of the other things is when you go back and you watch Johnny Jones huddle film, which we're not going to really dive into today, but you can go ahead and go watch it. He's got really good movement of the feet. Just a really versatile guy. And so really like him. So he talks about this and he says, will match and mirror his agility once engaged, but needs to get better at finding and maintaining leverage. Must also learn how to sync up his hands and feet while trying to extend the arc. Might not be the most polished corner protector as he needs plenty of technical refinement, but the type of big man that has a higher ceiling than most given the combination of his reach and dexterity. Needs to commit to the process, but projects as a potential multi-year starter for college football playoff contender after a few development semesters. And listen, what better offensive line coach to develop you than Bill Bedenbaugh? Now, he is a multi-sport athlete, plays basketball as a freshman, but he started at left tackle at all the schools he's been to. And this would be a big time pickup if the Oklahoma Sooners can truly get in this recruitment. Now, he's going to be at Missouri this weekend. And per Hayes Fawcett, it feels like Oklahoma might be lurking around here. Obviously, like I told you, makes a lot of sense. We talked about him earlier in the week, but things are starting to heat a little up now. So we had to get a little bit of an update out there. But the question is, what does this mean for Daniel McMorris, right? This is a prospect that I really like and a guy that I would love to have on the squad. And, a guy that I think, yeah, he's not someone that's going to come in and play for you right away, but a guy that could definitely be a project tackle for you. It feels like maybe the reservation there for Daniel McMorris was his weight. But, he's an in-state guy. He's right down the road, and you do need some depth at tackle, as we're seeing right now the week before Auburn. It's not a guarantee that your offensive linemen are going to be able to be 100% healthy. So Daniel McMorris being the 485th player in the country, you could bring in as a prospect, as a guy to develop over time, and maybe he could be a rotational guy for you, or dare I say even a starter, right? That's the kind of thing that I look at there. So we'll have to see if Oklahoma can potentially get in there. I know he's got some official visits set up with Tulsa. He'll be going to Cal. He'll be going to Northwestern. So maybe he'll go out to Oklahoma State as well, because I know they just recently offered him. But as far as the offensive line prospects go for Oklahoma, it's really about it. There was one more guy, if you guys remember, we talked about, what was it? Probably in July or towards the end of July into the first week of August. And that was Stephen Pickard Jr. He is an IMG Academy inside offensive lineman. This was a guy that a Syracuse commit. There was maybe rumblings that maybe he was looking to decommit. Maybe an offer was coming from Oklahoma, but nothing has quite happened on that front yet. So I know he potentially is maybe going to take another visit to Florida State. He unofficially visited on September 6th. So we'll kind of have to watch that recruitment. Maybe if it gets late to the cycle and Oklahoma really needs another offensive lineman because they don't feel good about the retention of that room, which, hey, that's Stacey Ford's ability. So maybe he's able to go in and retain all those guys. Maybe Stephen Pickard is a guy that they would go in and look at. So wouldn't be a name that I would be shocked by to see Oklahoma try to go land. So jump in the comments below. Let me know your thoughts. And if you guys are new to the channel, make sure you guys hit that like and hit that subscribe button.